Wednesday, September 10th, Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Thursday, September 11th, I went to see Einat Wilf with family and friends and other members of the community. And of course, we had to drive past the pro-terror protesters on the way into the location. And during the talk, of course, the protesters, somebody, somewhere, someone pro-terror, just had to mess with it, just couldn't leave us alone. And this happened.
It seems that we are exiting the building.
But after the venue was cleared and safe, I got a better seat.
A couple years ago, I was introduced to something called the Brandolini principle. Apparently there was this Italian programmer, Brandolini, who in 2013, when he began to see the conversation on the internet, he coined this principle that also became known as the bullshit asymmetry principle, in which he said that the amount of effort required to refute bullshit is at least an order of magnitude greater than the amount of effort required to produce it. So all they need to do is say, genocide, they're gone. And now they're like, I need to explain how Gaza has been weaponized for decades, that all of Gaza is a single weaponized landscape with hundreds of kilometers of tunnels and hundreds of piers, and an enemy that does not abide by the civilian military distinction and puts all their weapons in stashes. And like, you need to explain. And this is why whenever people say all that, it's not military experts who are saying that. So we're stuck at the point, South already, who really studied this, said, don't think that the anti-Semite doesn't know what they're doing. They know that Jews care about words, right? We just saw law-abiding, we care about words, we use them carefully. And they want to essentially, sometimes I think of it as a Jewish tax. Because imagine if they would just leave us alone. We would do so many wonderful things, and that would be a problem. So they constantly tax us in having to spend so many of our best people and resources and time.
Following up on my video with Dr. Einat Wilf and Alberto Brandolini's BS asymmetry principle, I learned more, and Brandolini's law is definitely at play in this. It is not a super new idea, and it's very relevant. Let's dig in. A lie can travel halfway around the world before the truth can get its boots on. Ingredients: creamed corn, nutcases, blood libel.
Apparently there was this Italian programmer, Brandolini, who in 2013, when he began to see the conversation on the internet, he coined this principle that also became known as the bullshit asymmetry principle, in which he said that the amount of effort required to refute bullshit is at least an order of magnitude greater than the amount of effort required to produce it.
I do corrections differently from the New York Times. I am not burying my accuracy in an obfuscating self-congratulatory post to a secondary X account. Terror agents were not the cause of the alarm. Thank you, security, and Baruch Hashem. For security reasons, I am not going into all the details. Terror agents were caught by security. Dr. Wilf was admirable in dealing with it. Again, the details of which I am not going into for security reasons.
Don't think that the anti-Semite doesn't know what they're doing, right? We just saw law-abiding. They think of it as a Jewish tax. Because imagine if they would just leave us alone.
The cause of the alarm was unrelated to the terror agents, but the effect was not. Everyone in attendance knew Jews worldwide have been in increased danger since October 7th, 2023, sometimes blacklisted and sometimes murdered. Charlie Kirk, a proud supporter of Jews and Israel, was assassinated the day prior for resuscitating a founding principle of America, the tradition of respectful disagreement. We know why from the assassin's texts with his romantic partner. I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. We all evacuated in an orderly fashion. We're used to the increasing, innovating security, the details of which, of course, I'm not sharing. There I was, feeling vulnerable despite the security, escorting a senior citizen with a cane, knowing she couldn't run away in the event of any shooting. That's not being melodramatic. A pro-Palestinian terrorist executed a multiple shooting in New Hampshire last night, murdering one man, shooting 2 other people, and wounding more. Journalist Eve Barlow, who I just saw a few days ago, was blacklisted for speaking up against Jew hate. She will be featured in my next piece. Fortunately, we were kept physically safe. Unfortunately, terrorism works. Today, as I've been working on this piece, the governments of Australia, Canada, and Britain officially recognized a Palestinian state despite majority opposition of their people, because their leaders are dependent on pro-terror voters for their coalition. Hamas is celebrating right now, touting October 7th as the reason for their success. Here's Ghazi Hamad, a senior Hamas official, on Qatari state media network Al Jazeera. Today, why do all countries, give me just one example, why do all countries recognize Palestine now? Before October 7, was there a country that dared to recognize the state of Palestine? Just give me an example of that. Now the fruits of October 7 is what made the whole world open its eyes to the Palestinian cause. After our evacuation, many attendees departed, fearing for their safety. I understand this, but that's not how I choose to live. This piece took a lot longer than I hoped because the BS keeps piling up. Charlie Kirk's funeral is going on right now. I stopped watching when Tucker Carlson, the Qatari pro-terror puppet, started spewing a hateful diatribe disguised as a eulogy. May the memory of Charlie Kirk and the memory of Robert Stephen DeCesare, murdered in Nashua, New Hampshire, be a blessing. Shana Tova. Happy Rosh Hashanah.